I've got about 6 o'clock.
And what was it?
Well, I believe that we're now at the 6 o'clock hour, and I would like to call this meeting of the Gilmer County Board of Education to order. And I will take roll. Mrs. Hurley.
Present.
Misty Pritt.
Here.
Carl Armour.
Here.
Tom Ratliff.
Here.
All here and accounted for. This time, Misty Pritt's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're getting into item 3 on our agenda, and the superintendent wants to say something before we
Let me
proceed.
get a couple things before we go there. We put an MIP project in to do several HVAC projects here at the high school. We went to a meeting today and I talked to several people before the meeting, and before you know it, we were up on the board and we will receive $757,000 with an MIP project for the county. And that'll take care of the heating and air conditioning, several units down here. Now, when they talked about it, they said 21 units, but I didn't think it was that much, but how many units we have, but we'll have to check and see, but it's gonna be a significant amount that's gonna take care of a couple wings over there. And then if we have to, next year we'll go back after some more we got, but I thought that was a great thing, and it's something that we have for our county, another positive thing coming to our county.
Sounds great.
So roofing units are going to replace maybe refrigeration units? That's good.
That's great. Okay, if you note under item 3, we have report / discussion / follow-up action, and that covers a multitude of items. I have something that I want to say in the way of a report. I want to pick up on something that Misty Pritt said at our last meeting about the need for our board to work together. Probably 8 or 10 years ago, in my neighborhood, we had some road ponies running loose, and they were running through gardens and through yards and through fences, and we didn't know who they belonged to, and they were just running wild. And I went across the creek and asked my neighbor, Red, I said, Red, what are we going to do? And he took a little bit of time to deliberate, and he spit a chew of tobacco, and he said, I don't know. And he said, there you are. Well, I've been asked by a number of people, some who know education, some who don't, what's to be done to get Gilmer County schools where we'd like to have them. And my answer has been, I'm not sure at this point that I know. And so there you are. Now, I have a couple of ideas, because this isn't the first month we've dealt with Gilmer County schools. This has been 3, going on 4 years that we've been looking at our situation. And I think, number one, I would suggest that we devote our time to the big picture, to focus on the big picture for our county schools. Whether we like it or not, we can spend a lot of time and spin our wheels on some very minor issues. And sometimes, you win a battle and lose a war. The war is what we have to win for our county. If you recall, a year or so ago, we focused on 3 goals for the Gilmer County Board of Education. We wanted to get our facilities issues settled. Well, we're moving in that direction, not necessarily at everyone's liking, but that issue is something that is coming into focus. The other item, as I recall, we wanted to improve our academics. And I think we are certainly working in that area, and I particularly note that there have been a good deal of improvements in the high school. But we still have a focus that we need to place on making sure that our students who come through our schools are prepared to compete with their counterparts. Another item that we had as a major focus was to regain control of our county schools. And I think that we have done almost as much as we can to make that happen. Now, you know, in the last 2 or 3 years, we talked about a lot of things. There's no need to lament state intervention. It happened. And there are all kinds of points of view on the validity of it, whether it was justified or whether it wasn't. There are those who say that we should not have been intervened. There are those who will say it's about time. And there are those who have no idea. I think it would be naive to think that we did not have some serious problems when we were intervened. But I also think we'd be naive to think that there was not politics involved. And so all of this together, it doesn't matter today, here, December 15th, because it already happened, and we're trying to work our way out. The question now is how to focus on the future. And I think we've got problems we're working on with Leading Creek that must be solved. We have a consolidated elementary school coming along, and we've got some issues that we need to iron out. But I think the question is, what do we see as our future? You know, we're not a county with 5 high schools and 15 elementary schools or middle schools. We're a county that's going to wind up with 1 high school, 1 consolidated elementary school, and an inter-county school at Lynn. Now, with 900 students and 3 schools, we should be able to have the very, very best that can be done in public education. And I think number one, we have to work with our teachers and our parents. We have to be able to envision goals for our county. You know, no one can move ahead unless there is a vision for the future. What is it that we want for our schools 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Because the need for a school board and administration is going to far outlive us. And what we have to do is our share of rowing in the boat until someone else takes over. I would like to see us, and I know we all have different points of view, I certainly understand that, but I'd like to see us focus on solving the problems that are facing us out there in the future. Some of the things that happened, I've got a lot of things over at the farm that have happened that I can't undo. But I am responsible for what's there now. And I think the same is true with any enterprise that we work with. But I wanted to say that because, Misty, I think you were exactly right. The degree to which we can work as a board with our county administration and with the schools and the teachers and the parents, the better job we'll do at preparing our students for the challenges that are ahead. And quite frankly, when I look at it, the challenges many of us had rather pale in comparison to many of the challenges that are facing our young people today. And so the very best that we can do may not be the very best, but it will be the best we can do. And that's my report as board president. I'd like to see us move ahead, and I'd like to see the state understand that we want to move ahead and that we are capable of running our county schools. And I think the sooner that happens, the sooner we have control back, I think the better. So that's my report. If there are any questions or comments, I'd be glad to say more. Okay, anything else under reports, discussion, follow-up, any item that needs discussing?
I have an item. As an individual citizen, I submitted my thoughts about financial information the state needs to disclose. We're asked about that almost on a daily basis. And yeah, that was in the past, but it certainly influences the future too. So I'm just going to direct the question, and Mr. Devon will even have to answer if he elects not to, is are we going to be given full disclosure of the finances, and if not, why?
You say full disclosure, can you elaborate, what actually do you mean full disclosure? The audit reports that we have, you've got a copy of the audit reports the last couple of years?
Do they have each detail in there? You know, I don't want to get involved in a controversy this evening. I think that the memo that I gave was self-explanatory. And if someone can sit down and go through the points I brought up and show me where that information is, and it can be shared with the other board members, then I'd say, okay, we have it.
Okay, the one I can answer for you now. The one you asked if we're gonna get any money back from the state. I did ask the question. I think you did the same thing. And the answer you're gonna get back on that one is, we gave you the $12 million or $13 million for the school. You pick the site. So.
We picked the site. Okay, now how do you define we,
They didn't,
not the board?
they didn't say, they just said, we picked the site. So whoever we was, picked the site.
Okay,
And
so we,
went in front of the Board of Education and said, this is a site that we want to build on, and the board approved it. Now, there was a
are you
problem.
talking about the local
State-
board or the
state-
state board?
state board approved it.
Okay.
From a recommendation from here,
Yeah,
okay?
This board member will say, that's not.
okay. If there are any questions about anything that I had in that memo, and incidentally, it was my memo, and I wrote it as a citizen under the auspices of the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. So if there are any questions, please ask me. Tell me who to sit with or where to go.
Let me send that down to the finance department and the state board,
Okay.
and let them see what they come up with.
And I
we'll
think,
go from there.
I think it'd be best to have full disclosure now, because when we're subpoenaed and have to go before a committee with the new legislature, I'd rather for that information already be out than to be down there as an individual trying to bring that up.
I have a couple of points I'd like to bring up. One, I did mention to Mr. Devano, it's simply a point of order, and I would ask that when we take a vote of the board, we would request also for abstentions or nays. I would appreciate that. Or noes, however you wish to put it. Also, I'm having difficulty for some reason getting my request to speak on the agenda. I do feel that as a board member, I do have a right to have any question that within the line of business that we're doing, that I want to talk about, put on the agenda. It hasn't been happening. I did check with the president, and he said it was not him that was not putting it on here. I don't know why I can't seem to get my questions on the agenda, but it's been 3 months and none of my questions have been put on yet. I'd really like to have that reconsidered. I feel as though I asked intelligent questions, and I'm not looking for anyone to agree with me or disagree with me, but I would like to have my questions put on the agenda, please. I do feel I have that right as a board member.
Let me answer your question, what you just did. We have to send our agenda to the State Department of Education to be approved. We've got to get it out, that comes back to us, we've got to get it out on Wednesday. On your two of your questions you had, we had questions because we didn't understand what you were asking for. We emailed you on Monday to clarify those questions. Becky did. We never heard anything from you.
She phoned me
Wait a
that day because my email was
Wait a
not
minute.
working. I talked to her.
Okay, I listened to you, wait a minute, okay? And then I was talking to her on Wednesday, and I asked her, I said, call Norma in the morning, Wednesday morning, and get what she wants on this verification, because it has to go out. I can't hold it any longer. And she called you and left a message to call her back by 3 o'clock.
And I did.
Well, she said you called about 10, 15 after 3, and the agenda was already done.
Quarter of 3.
Well, I'm just telling you what they said. The agenda was all done, everything in the paper.
Well,
Okay.
no,
But when
I
you
called
clarified what you wanted, it was different from what was on the request that I had.
The simple question, for instance, was standardized tests.
And I gave you that
And you
information.
told me that that information by email was provided at the strategic planning. Well, in reality, no, but it had already been discounted. In reality, that was not my question. My question was, once again, I would like to have seen the individual schools, because we have one that is by class. We have one that is having a little trouble, it's in transition, and I wanted to see how last year's data translated to the 4th grade, specifically 3rd to 4th, which was a problem area. I don't know why my question isn't enough. I mean, do I have to give my, I mean, I know
If I
we
would
agreed
ask you
to
what
discuss
standardized
in
testing, I want
advance.
standardized testing, how would you interpret it? If I said, if I got an email from anybody on the board, I could ask, Mr. Armour, if I would say standardized testing to him, would he look at me and know exactly what I mean?
No, sir, and I agree
let me
that
tell
you
you
did
something.
ask me to tell you, what I wanted to know, but that is not the point. I mean, I don't know that there's anywhere that I've seen that a board member cannot ask to have a topic discussed. Now, if later on you want to know more detail to be able to answer me, that's fine, but my topic never makes the agenda. It's only my topic that I'm asking to be put on the agenda. If in fact my question would be answered during the meeting, I would just simply say it had already been answered, But my topic is not making the agenda. And I do think my topic should be put there, and, if the answer is I've already received the answer, fine. Or if I hear it during the meeting, I certainly have no need to pursue it. And that happened once before, where I had a question, but someone else had answered it in the course of their question, and so I didn't ask it. I'm just saying that my topic for the agenda, I don't see, I mean, if you want to know into detail so that you can give an answer or something, I have no problem with that. But, my topic, I asked for my topic on the agenda. My topic doesn't arrive. And I would like to see that happen. I feel I am entitled to put a topic on the agenda, and I don't feel like I have to ask for a complete answer to every question before I get to the meeting. In order to get it on the agenda, if I were going to do that, why would I want it on the agenda to discuss with the board? I mean, it's the board members
I'm not
that-
gonna get into it with this. It's fine. You send me your topics. If it's in a timely manner, I have no problem putting it on here.
Okay, very good.
But we will email you if I can't understand it, because I'm not
Oh,
gonna
I
go
don't have
research
any
something.
difficulty, but my topic is what I'm asking to discuss. If I'll be happy if you want to look into it more, or say, what area do you want? I'll certainly discuss that with you anytime.
And the 3 topics that you sent, we did. We sent you an email back asking you to clarify.
Right,
we
but
got
the topic never made the agenda. Asking to clarify
Well, I
is
can't-
one thing.
Okay, if I'd have put the topic on here, what were we gonna do with it? If
Had
I,
you-
if I can't,
If you had put the topic on there,
okay.
and then after that fact, and then said to me, now I'm gonna want to answer you, what specifically would you wanna know so I can be prepared? We could have gone through that. It's not the point. The point is, the topic I'm asking to be on the agenda never arrives. I asked to have a topic on to discuss community and how this board is meeting the needs of the community, and, it didn't go on there. And all I wanted to discuss was a couple of things. One was, I really strongly suggest that delegation be moved to the front. I think it would help enhance community participation. The second is that historically, this meeting has always been at 7 p.m. to enable the people to be able to get home with their children, get them settled with a babysitter, dinner, whatever they need to do, home from work, change their clothes, and come back for more public participation. But that was changed to assist Mr. Blankenship because he lived in Calhoun County. And so it became so late for him, and I was here when the board agreed to change it to 6 to, assist him with that. But I thought maybe we might reconsider at some date to change that back to 7. There were a couple of items there. It was just a matter to discuss, to bring up for discussion for board consideration.
What you're doing right now is discussing your
I
questions.
am, because
Which-
this is
which
the
is-
only avenue I have.
Which is fine, you can do that, as long as the board doesn't take action on your discussion.
But that's just it, I can't ask for any action because I can't get it on the agenda.
Even if it was on the agenda for discussion, you still couldn't ask for it.
I could ask for it to go for the next meeting.
Sure. Ask the board right now, if they vote on it, we'll go to the next meeting with it.
I
You
don't
can-
have it
you
on
can-
the agenda, we can't vote on something I don't have on the
You
agenda.
can
so-
ask for the opinion of the board if they would like to have this on the next agenda. If you get the consensus of the board, then
So
I'll
now
put it
I
on the
need
next
the
agenda.
board's consensus to ask for something on the agenda.
May I say something?
Yes, sir.
We have attended countless hours of training, and we hear the same thing over and over again. So we may be dysfunctional, but after we hear something about 10 times, we start to get the message. And one thing I've heard repeatedly about agenda items, each board member has the right to submit an agenda item. Now, if our agenda items have to be submitted to Charleston for approval, one way to get you off the hook could be if someone has an item they want on the agenda, and Charleston says no, you could inform the board, well, it wasn't your decision, it was a decision in Charleston, they didn't want us to talk about it.
I agree with you, but if my agenda needs to be down in Charleston at a certain time,
That's true.
I gotta have that in on a certain
No
time.
problem at all.
But I did send it days in advance, and the question came down. My
Send it
computer-
Monday morning.
No, sir, I sent it prior, but yes, I did I added one addition Friday that went to you and Mr. Simmons that asked to have it added on Friday and reminded that it needed to be there by Monday morning because that's what the secretary told me. However, that was only one out of 3 items. And all I'm asking is please, can I get my question or my subject matter on the agenda? If you need more detail or want more detail, I'll always give you anything you ask me for. I'm not trying to be uncooperative, I just feel it becomes very difficult to simply get an item on the agenda, and I don't think it should be.
Okay, anything else on this item? Okay, let's,
Wait a minute, one more thing.
okay,
I can't keep from saying something positive. The West Test 2 scores are out. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't rejoice at over what one of our schools did. Normantown was number 9 out of 401. That puts it in the top 3% among the 401 schools in the state of West Virginia. So I just like to say that and give the people a pat on the back.
okay, well, let's move on to item A under 3, Gilmer Calhoun Career Center, Dr. Arnold.
Okay. Let me kind of give an overview. We have these minutes in the packet, and I kind of go over them very briefly. I've said before, it's very orderly, everything is disclosed, and we go in there and everything is covered in a half hour to 45 minutes. And here's the type of things we talk about. List of bills, financial report, and we talk about new hires, and minor problems that occur at the center. And Mr. Stearns brings that up. We get through with it very, very quickly. Give you an idea of what we did this last time. We approved the posting of a contract for a bus driver and a backup bus driver. And one item I have, I'm not going to discuss, maybe Mr. Milano wants to discuss. And one thing that they talked about down there that was really alarming to me, Mr. Woodward spent some time. And I don't know whether you know it or not, but Calhoun County is in the red $1.8 million. And they are going to have to do some very, very difficult things to try to get out of that within 2 years. Fortunately, we're not in that situation. We hope we never are. Okay. One of the things Mr. Stearns talked about, they're going to have to get their students involved some way in the senior center activities. he didn't go to elaborate what that is, but that's a good thing to get those students involved. So that's about all I have, unless Mr. Longo wants to.
Yes, sir.
I know the senior center is getting involved with some of the nursing students down there. Some of the nursing students are being placed at our center to care in home.
Right now?
Right now,
Good. In the homes?
in homes.
In the homes. Great.
So that's really a positive thing, and we've even talked about maybe even going down and talk with Mr. Stearns to do some more recruiting down there. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Armour. Recess 7, we had our November meeting on the 20th at the RESA headquarters in Harrison County. There were 3 items that I think you would be particularly interested in. We had Kim Goff, RESA 7 math coordinator, who discussed the Common Core standards and the new generation of standards, and in particular as it relates to math. The math specialists with RESA are doing training at various high schools, and they're also working here with Gilmer County High School. They have 2 coaches that work with the schools, and the cohorts work with teachers grades 6 through 12. I thought it was quite interesting, the discussion. One gentleman who was probably about my age said, well, you know, any way you go at it, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Well, maybe not necessarily in the new generation of math, because the answer was, well, not necessarily. What we want to do is make sure the child understands the concepts that will lead 2 plus 2 to be 4. And I thought, well, you know, it was hard enough for me just to, with rote, to get that kind of information. But I think that there certainly is a recognition that a lot of training, both in service and pre-service, will have to be done to get our teachers ready to do the new standards. You know, whether we like it or not, there are some different approaches with the way math is taught, and our students will learn it in a different way. It's not my way, but it is the way that we're practicing the training. I think that several questions were asked, and I think probably, if I recall right, Gabe, one of the weaknesses was in content, in math content, which again argues for the point that probably in training programs we need to beef up whatever academic area a teacher is seeking certification in, because in addition to all the technology involved and the need to know a lot of counseling and social work, there is a need to have more in-depth in the content area. We also had a report on adult basic education and GED testing. And as I understand it, the high school equivalency testing will be done online now, and it also is more challenging than the previous exams. So those who want to seek a GED, they're going to have to put in some extra work, and they're going to get help from the folks at RESA to take those tests. Fred Oldacre, RESA 7, was there to talk about AEPA purchasing. It's a purchasing agency, and he talked about the fact that bids are already done through these arrangements, and counties can go directly to the vendors. Out of $1.8 million in purchases this past year, the estimate was that we saved $657,000 by going through bulk purchasing. And so the ideas that we've had explored, that RESA, through doing purchasing in large quantities, that we save money, that I think that's true. And I think we'll certainly have to continue to do that. We had a little bit of a discussion about the committee's report to the State Board of Education on some revisions in the way public education is offered. And I think probably there was not a lot of enthusiasm for it, particularly those of us from small counties, because I've always used the illustration when there's reading at the trough, the little guys wind up on the short end. And I think, shortly after that, the state announced that they were not really going to change things drastically. And I think, we agree that purchasing and maybe payroll, there are a number of things that can be done from a regional location that probably would save us money. But on the other hand, if you can do all that from one location, it's certainly going to impact the various counties that are going to be on those payrolls. But we had a good discussion. I got into a little bit of hot water talking about something we had at the School Board Association meeting that had to do with the number of graduate education administration degrees, and the fact that the emphasis was going to be shifted to encouraging people to get those master's degrees in their content areas. And it was interpreted, Gabe, I think, that I had said that people with education administration degrees weren't competent, and that wasn't what I said. But at any rate, one of the things about when you're dealing with education philosophy, there are a lot of interpretations. But we worked it out and shook hands before it was over. But I do believe that if we can only use so many administrators. There's room for only so many, and we were graduating a lot more people with administration degrees than we had employment opportunities. And there were financial benefits to getting those degrees. Why not give the same benefit to someone that wants to get a degree in English or social studies or biology or chemistry or whatever? And I think that's the way we're probably going to move. Okay, any questions? We have before us then a handout that I discussed with the superintendent and with Kendra, and some of us have talked about this off and on. And as I recall, when we had our training sessions back in May or June, we had a gentleman from Pennington County who was the finance person, and he had a very brief financial statement that he provided to his board. And we looked at that and thought that it might have some merit for us to consider. How much information, detail do we actually need as a board to see whether our finances are in order? And so what you have here is something that, just for your consideration, if you want to look at this as a way for us to maybe shorten the amount of paper that we have in each agenda, and this is done with the idea that anyone who wishes to have more in-depth detail, that certainly they're entitled to it. But for our board meetings, if you think that this is something that would serve us well and you want to do it, fine. If not, it's up to you as a board.
Is this the list, the very first list on top of the check register? Is this the list that we note on the agenda as being available at the office? The list of invoices that's supposed to be attached to our minutes? Is this the list?
You can come to the office and Sherry can look up whatever you want.
No, I mean, if you, it's been put on the agenda, that you can come look and see a list of invoices. And I know that and we had discussed this previously, that it was required that a list of invoices either be attached to the minutes in some way, and I believe that's how you chose to do it. I just wondered if this is what it is, because I hadn't come up to look at that list, and I just wondered if this was the list that you were providing at the office.
These are the checks.
Right, I understand.
Yes, it is the list of invoices.
So you're producing that as the list of invoices?
Yes.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding.
want to look at this and, gives us some notion before the end of the meeting, or if you'd like to make your comments now, certainly, the floor is open for it.
Well, I would like to say, I haven't had time to really look at that and do any analysis of it other than just that cursory glance. But there's an item on the schedule of checks to be written that I believe will bring up why that list is good, certainly good. It's all good information. I mean, I don't know how you could ever have leadership without knowledge. And I'm big on information. Some people are, some people aren't. I'm very happy with the information that I received personally. But we have an incident here. Actually, Mrs. Critt pointed it out that there's and we're not on AP, but there's a P card purchase showing here with no other description. Things like that won't show on that list. And I think that's a very valid question, and I'll leave that to her to question later on under AP. But I just think that every bit of information we can get is knowledge, which certainly promotes leadership. And given the fact that the board has been under such constrictions for so long when it comes to knowledge, and the lack of experience being not under intervention, other than Mrs. Pritt, no one here has enjoyed any time without being under intervention in the school board. So I just would hate to see any information that is currently available to us being changed. The Pendleton County information is great. Actually, the young man, I had him, the treasurer up there, very nice man, Mr. Mallory, had sent, and Kendra sent it to me as well, a complete copy of what he gives his board. That's just one of many. We don't really get half of the documentation that he provides his board. Although Kendra has certainly stepped it up a great deal with her treasurer's reports and the bank reports and things like that, and I think we're bordering right there with what he provides.
But you can get that information you're asking for at the office anytime.
Well, no, that's not true, because I have to contact the office and set up an appointment to get the information. I just can't walk in and ask for it.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm only operating on half a hearing aid. I think I lost one in a way, so I need something for clarification. When J.P. Mower was here, and he's given his presentation other times to a training center, he talked about a one-page summary. Is this the one-page summary, Mrs. Brown? Can you just look at it, just get an idea?
That is the treasurer's report.
It says
shows your
treasury
cash.
report, the month ending November 30th.
Right,
Quick thing you can look at.
basically your cash broken down, your fund balance broken down by fund, which would be, one of the most important elements. The next few pages are just a 2-page summary of what I was given before. The Weavis report, it kind of just puts it all in Excel and creates some graphs and things like that.
So is this what Mowerly, or however you pronounce his name, was talking about?
I thought we had agreed previously that those who wished all of the information could get it, and those who wanted less did not have to receive it.
I think that's what, isn't that what we said?
That's what we said, yes.
I think on each agenda, is there a statement that people can go and look at the invoices too?
But we were told over the internet that we have to call and make an appointment. We just cannot walk in at a convenient time, and we have to make sure that someone's in the office, that Mr. Devano's in the office first to be able to see him, because he's a busy man. He goes to various places, the schools, he goes various meetings. It's not as though it's just walk in and say, may I look at this?
I don't run my office like a good stock, though. If you need to walk up there and she's there, and you want to come up and you call, and she's there, you're both welcome to come up and sit down with her.
Mr. Devano, you sent me us all an email and said we were not to, including every member of your office staff, that said we were not to speak with them unless we had spoken to you first, sir. Now, I have that in writing, and I can bring you a copy.
Okay, let's just keep it the same way then. If you want to come up and talk to them, come to me.
That's how it's been.
Okay.
And unless, until you change that in writing, I can't do anything else.
We'll keep it that same way.
The only plea I'd make is let's think about the people in the office. They're all doing the best they can.
Yes,
We're
they
all
are.
working together. Let's try not to overburden them. Everybody should have a right to have access to information.
I
think
never
that's what
called the
I heard
office.
said.
Correct.
Unless I speak to Mr. Devano, and I haven't spoken to another person since. You know, the office is not overburdened with my duties,
I didn't say that.
you know.
I did not say that.
I don't go up there and I don't
Five
sit and talk to them. I go up and if I go to get my packet or I send my email for my agenda and I do what is requested of me. All I'm asking is just simply do not deny me the information that I find necessary to try to get a grip on what is happening with us fiscally.
Tom, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think I've stressed before, I like the sample one-page report. And then if I see a problem in there, I'm gonna go up to the office and look, ask for other reports to look at. That's what I'm wanting, and hopefully, right now, I have no doubt that Mr. Devano and the secretary, they're gonna look over those reports before they enter here. If there's a problem, it should be corrected before it ever gets to this point that we see that report. So I'm sure there's a lot of corrections made
Now, there was,
before it gets to this point.
years ago, there was $10,000 that had been found stolen. And it was a check written to an ex-superintendent. And it was discovered in a board meeting.
Well,
There was another
those
issue
things,
that
those
happened
things
at
happen in
this
all
school where
public
money was-
offices, Norma. You know,
Well,
I
sir.
saw someone that stole money from RISA. Does that mean that every RISA has a thief?
No, sir. I'm saying that that was discovered at a board meeting and might not have been discovered at all had the board not reviewed their financial information. I just see it as important. You have in your mind what you feel is important. I would never deny you that right, Bill. You can look at whatever you feel meets your need. I'm just asking you not to deny my right. Mr. Mallory stated that one-page information. I can send you the whole thing. I'm sure Kendra can too. She said it to me that he gives his board every month. That one page is part of a great amount of information.
But you can still get that. If I don't want it and Tom doesn't want it, or Carl.
And I think that should be an
Then I
individual
think that's
request,
what
as
we
long
should
as,
do.
you know, but do I have to go every month and go up and say, well, I'd like to have this, and, you know, and ask for it and someone to print it, or will it be provided in my packet? That's really all I want to
That's
know.
not what he's saying is, if you want the same reports that we're getting, we'll give them to you.
Well, I thought we had already
But
resolved
if Carl and
this
them,
issue.
but if Carl and them doesn't want it,
Right.
or Misty doesn't want it, and wants this packet, they'll get this packet.
Right, but I thought we had already resolved that issue 2 months ago.
No, we didn't. Is this as small as we can get on the report?
Okay.
I think that's,
That's the smallest I think we can get, yeah.
yes.
Could we get Mrs. Brown's input on that too? Do you have anything you want to say? If you saw a problem, you tell us about it.
Right, I know that the only thing that Amy Willard with the State Department mentioned was that you have to be sure and include that treasurer's report in there, which has been put in there, and, that two-page summary is the state's template, so that would be following the minimum requirements there for your financial reporting and your invoices. I think that's kind of just the board's discretion on how much or how little they want to provide.
Doesn't every check have to be approved by the, or expenditure have to be approved by the board before the check can be issued?
Yes, and by generating that report right there, it gives you a listing of every check that we'll print. It just doesn't give you the account code information and the detail like line item quantities and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm not discouraging any other board member if they want the whole, whole thing go forward, that's.
Well, that was my thing. I thought we had already answered that question 2 months ago. I really did.
Well, if the question's already been answered, then those of us who want an abbreviated report, that's what we will ask for, and if you want the lengthy report, you ask for it.
And I did. I said to you, please send me it.
Okay, let's just take a straw vote on it. How many would like to have the abbreviated report, the sample we have before us?
I haven't had time to even look through this that we've got here. We just got this.
I mean, I don't know for sure if this is enough information for me or not, but I'd be happy to forward my opinion of it after I have time to look at it tonight.
We can do that.
We can do that.
I would
That'd
rather
be
look
fine.
at it
defer
and
it.
know if this is enough than
Get
to
a
say
chance
yes.
to look at it and see if you're comfortable with it, and then you
That's all
can
I'm asking
decide
for, just a little
which way
time.
you'd like to have it. Okay, let's go on to item 4, consent agenda, new business. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I have a couple items here, and this is a positive thing.
Get a motion? Do I have-
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second, discussion.
I got discussion, okay. Couple items here, this is a positive thing. I noticed a $3,000 supplement, to supplement GSC BDS intervention. Okay, is that we're paying GSC or GSC is donating that money to us?
Okay, is it for Sanford?
Give them a take.
Okay,
Sanford, yeah.
me and Sherry looked at these today, and I was doing some entries. It's actually a check that was cut from the, state of West Virginia.
Okay.
And not, it's usually Glenville State College, so I can fix that.
It's a
before we send it
grant.
to state.
It's a grant that Sandfork applied for in order to have extra help, and they took that initiative on their own several years ago.
Okay.
So that's been some extra help that they've had in at Sandfork by them doing it on their own.
Good.
They applied for a
It's an
grant.
intervention, it's the same way we put one in, they've been having one like that for years.
Yeah, through a grant.
Okay, and the other, on this page, they're not numbered, but we have a general current expense fund account title, excess levy fund account title, and we have capital projects. Under that, we have SBA Cedar Creek Building Project, County Map Cedar Creek. So I interpret this, that today, $829,438.72 has been spent on the Cedar Creek project, is that correct?
Okay, now when you look at,
Yep.
some of that's SBA money, some of it's our money, but it's also all the designs, everything like that that's already done with the school. That you're
Yes,
not
I
gonna
understand
duplicate,
that.
you're not gonna
Yeah,
duplicate.
Yeah, you brought that out, but that money spent on design would be picked up and delivered to Hayes City.
Now,
So the
when you-
question was, we have spent $829,438. I
No.
was going to add something to that. Does that include the money for the survey?
What we do with that, they'll send us a bill, we submit it to SBA, SBA sends us the money, so SBA's paying for 85% of the project. Is it 85, is that what it is, 85 something? we
Yes,
pay?
it's like
So
85.
when you say we've spent 800 some thousand, that's not correct because
Part of it's
Everybody-
SBA money.
majority of it's SBA money, ours is just part of it.
Okay, so this $829,000, did that include the, what was it, close to $40,000 from the survey?
I don't know, did we get the bill on that one yet from SNL?
Yeah, I think that was on the last
That
one.
was on the
so-
last one.
Okay.
I think it was
It would
39,000.
include that, whatever's there, whatever we paid, that's there.
Well, but they do not, the SBA does not reimburse us for land or site prep, am I correct?
Site prep they will because it's part of the project.
Okay.
The land, no.
No. So we do have $400,000, a little more
As soon as
than
we
that,
get all the deeds straight.
$49,000 that went out in
As soon
land,
as all the deeds get straight, yes.
plus the half of what we paid for over at the Lynn School, we paid for half of that land. So, I mean, you know, that was a couple $100,000, so we've got around $700,000 out in land. Now, I know we're supposed to get that 400. Has that transaction been completed?
The deeds are here and they're working through them. As soon as they get them straightened out, then I'll go and get to pick up the money.
I knew you were gonna take me to the state to be reviewed.
State's already passed them, they've already done it,
Okay.
they've already, they sent it to, Mr. Butcher, and he looked over it and got to make some changes. And then that land is ours, and then the deed was sent to the Morris Foundation, the other deed, and as soon as that's all corrected, then we go pick up our money.
So there were some corrections and we'll come back eventually.
So when we see these figures, and we're talking about two things, part of it is Gilmer County money, and part of it is SBA money, but we don't know exactly how much is Gilmer County money.
We could
You
break,
you mentioned 15%.
I think we can break that out because
That's the reason I wrote that memo.
when we send that out, when we send that there to ask the SBA money, they fund us so much and send it to us.
It's showing like 528,000 up there under unrestricted. That's your county match and your land, which the county's paid for
Which page is
so
that?
far. It's, actually the weakest report here. Near the end of it. I don't think I have page numbers on it. And then down below the $300,569 is your SBA amount of $829.
When I looked at that before, I thought out of Gilmer County money was probably $550,000 or $60,000. We were going to get back $400,000 for the sale of the property, so we were probably gonna be outstanding $150,000 or $60,000. Is that somewhere close out of local funds?
But you can't forget the half of the Lynn School land, huh?
Money,
I'm just talking about this,
Just this one.
yeah, just the Cedar Creek.
the land was 457,000, I think, 455,000 that we paid. We got $400,000, so in essence, if you wanna look at it one way, we paid $50,000 for this land down here and recouped it, or we're short of $50,000, but you're getting back $400,000 in your budget.
And then 15% of what Williamson Shriver has built, we're going to, that, we have paid
Not
that
on, not
also.
on your land.
No, not on the land, I realize that,
All
but on the
that's-
contract, we paid Williamson Shriver quite a bit of money.
All that, we don't know where you got 15%.
Well, 85% is
Your
what
figure.
the SBA is going to
15%.
You
refund.
said 15%.
Yeah, 85% the SBA is going to refund us, so we pay 15%.
No, it's the SB, now you got two different things going here. Now you're
Yeah.
talking about Shriver and you're talking about the SBA. Which one do you wanna know? SBA
Well-
funding is a match fund. I think that the
Right.
SBA pays 85%.
When we send a request for
When
payment.
you send a
yeah.
request, they pay 85%, and I think we pay, but I can get you the right figures. It's 80-something,
I
point
think Mrs.
something,
Brown did
point
whatever
something.
it is, 85 and 15, it
And
comes
then
to 100, I'm
15%.
roughing it.
Now, that's SBA.
Right.
You're talking about Shriver, has nothing to do with the 15%.
But when you
or
send a
whatever.
request for payment down, I mean, we have to pay the bill first. And
Correct.
then you'll send a request for payment down. At that point, if it is eligible, they will refund us 85% of it. So Williamson Shriver is certainly included in that, and to date, it's been our, other than land, it's been our biggest expenditure. I mean, that's why I bring that in. because-
Whatever bills we get, we send them to the SBA. They
Right, I
approve them.
understand that.
And then when they approve them, we pay them, then they pay us the money.
Now,
Now,
on the,
if Shriver's bill's in there,
Right.
yes, and maybe one time it's not in there.
I understand
But
that.
I think I don't know what, you'll have to tell me what you guys, what did you bid with Shriver?
We
when you
never
come
went
in
to
here?
bed with Shriver, sir.
Okay, well, if I'm thinking it's only like a 6%, I think that's what they have.
Well, the
5 to
last,
6%.
the last invoice I saw from Shriver showed a total on that site for $611,000 would have been their total bill had they completed. I know that they've received well over $400,000. Now, I'm sure most of that will be coming back from the SBA, the 85 percentile, or in that range, I understand that, okay? But I mean, to a degree, whatever that percentage is that we have paid, we will have lost unless it can be, that was why the question always came up, you know, will the plans just flip here? Because we paid them for plans over there, you know, so will they be able to flip? You know, of course, I realize that's gonna be based on the site, the location, how they're gonna be able to turn the school, how many students, et cetera, and we know none of that.
One more time, we've talked about this.
Right.
I've told you before, that before we did anything, we took the plans that Shriver had with the SBA and put it on that land and make sure that it fit that land
Right.
before we did anything whatsoever. And it does fit
Are they
perfect on
going to
that
have to
land.
do deep foundations?
The
I
real
don't-
question, we didn't even bring up Williamson's. The real question people were asking is, how much money did the county lose as a result of the Cedar Creek deal? How much money are we out of? And that's the reason I wrote that memorandum, trying to, once and for all, it's better just to get this out, so everyone can look at it. If you get it out within 2 weeks, people won't even be talking about it. But if we don't get it out, it's gonna be made worse than what it actually is.
A lot of people ask that same question.
Well, we have somewhat of the same issue with Leading Creek, in that the way the current law is written, in 5 years, that's not our school, period. And yet we have an investment there. And, you know, hopefully, the state has drafted some new legislation which should take care of most of the questions that we raised at a very long meeting over at Weston. And, you know, there isn't any reason why that inter-county school can't work, but it has to be fair and equal. And right now it isn't. So I guess the big question, we've got a lot invested there. Lewis County does, but if we're not there, Lewis County doesn't have a school. And if we're there under adverse conditions, then we don't want to be there. So until it's a workable situation, I look at it, it's akin to some of my building over at the farm. I start building and I make my plans as I go. That's kind of how this project has evolved.
But then again, the board actually, as a board, never had any real ability to vote on any of that. I mean, I think you'll agree, it was not brought before you, it was not your decision as a board at any time to either put that school there, ask the SBA for the funding for the school. It was not brought before the board and a vote taken. I attended every single meeting. I know that it wasn't, unless someone can tell me when I missed it.
Let me
To date, we have no
sum this
input on
up.
this, no
Just
choice
coming in
on
on
this
this.
school.
The Leading Creek School is built.
Yeah, well, I
It's
guess
finished. It opens up next May. We've met with our staff. We've been trying to, our staff's not getting what I think's a fair deal in this whole thing, okay? We express our opinions. We're trying to get legislations to help out our staff and everything else like this. There's not a thing this board can do about it anymore, and there's not a thing I can do about it anymore. The school's built, it's over there. We have, the line of the county goes right down the middle, so we got half of the building and they got half of the
I
building.
disagree with that, Mr.
Okay.
Bono. I saw the building site and.
Wait a minute,
But,
Norma, we just need to move on.
I
The school's
agree.
built, it's
However,
done,
the
there isn't
MOU is
anything,
there
there isn't
now.
anything I
Our
can do
teachers
about
are
it.
dealing
There
with
isn't
it.
anything you can do about it. We have to protect our teachers and work with them
Precisely,
and
that's
do the
my
best we
point.
can.
And this
That's my
MOU is
biggest
still a
concern
thing
right
of
now.
today.
And I know Dr. Armour is concerned about the funding over there. I'll try to help him every way I can to get his answers, but my responsibility and what I want right now is my staff to be protected over there.
We'd like to
and-
see our
and have
staff
theirs-
protected.
And have their
too.
job and jeopardy and everything, and do everything I can for them right now.
But,
It's done, it's built,
the
there's nothing I
staff
can
needs
do
to
about it.
understand that this board was never even participatory in the MOU,
When
is
I-
all I'm
when
saying.
I
So
talk
I'm not
to the
debating
staff-
with you
when
or
I talk
arguing
to the
with you.
staff,
I
first thing-
agree with you.
The first thing I brought up with the staff was, you don't blame Delegate Boggs, you don't blame Delegate Walker, and you
No.
don't blame, Dr. Simmons or Dr. Armour. They went down to the legislatures, and they tried everything they can. When that legislation went through the ranks and how it goes, somewhere along the line, some things got left out. But you can't blame these two gentlemen on this board, and you can't blame our two delegates, because they really worked hard to get that stuff through there. The only thing of it is, it's passed, there's nothing we can do about it to live with it. We can go down and try to make the changes, and that's exactly what we're gonna do.
That
The only reason I
legislation
want
was
those
worked on
changes-
by a lot of people, sir. A lot of people.
I'm just telling you,
And I know that very well because I helped also, and the coalition worked, Delegate Walker worked day and night trying to make it be agreeable with what we had as, the career center type affair.
well, I
And it
didn't
just
have,
didn't work out, I know.
That didn't
Didn't
I
happen,
know.
and so we
But I
got-
just wanted to be certain that people do understand, and the staff in particular, that the board never had a choice in that.
No, and I think these questions with regard to facilities, we have not had any input. This is out of our hands, and I have made it adamantly clear that we have had no decision involving these major facilities. We have not. What we got to do, though, is we got to live with this. When we get it back, it's our responsibility at that point. And that Lynn School, as an inter-county school, is a wonderful idea. And it needs to happen in several places, probably in our state. But it will not happen unless it's done properly. So that's what Mr. Devano and I and some others are going to be working with. And I think that we have to do it. If we don't get it done, it is not going to work. And I told Delegate Walker and Boggs, and you know, it's true, this would be the first inter-county school, and it'll be the last one if it is not done fairly. And I think that's what we got, that's what we thought we got. And some other folks had other ideas. Again, it's like a piece of legislation that was put together by a committee. And it really doesn't help us. And you cannot have two sets of personnel policies in any one institution. So, you know, I guess we got away from the concerns about our investments. Yeah, we have money invested. And once our school is working the way it should, I think it'll be a good investment. But that has to happen first.
Well, we're talking about two different subjects here. My subject had to do with fiduciary responsibility, full disclosure of the finances, and I understood Mr. Devano say he's going to try to do that.
I'll send it to Charleston, see what
And
they'll
there's no
come up
need
with.
to argue about the schools, or even say much, because the schools are there.
They're there.
One thing I think we can learn from,
We can.
we can proceed very cautiously when the state board starts saying that we can share responsibilities with other counties. Particularly when it comes to personnel. I'm a firm believer in wherever the most votes are is where the most money's going to go.
You're right there.
So, I think that's what happened in this case, and I'm not pointing the fingers at anyone. But we kind of come up on the short end of the stick, but as long as I'm on the board, I hope we don't do that in the future, you know. And I think from your recent report, that's kind of calmed down some and wanting to start sharing personnel with other counties and.
It has, but I would remind you, Tom, and other members of the board, you can do with finance what you can't do with politics.
Yeah.
And I think all small counties need to keep an eye on their financial condition.
Well, and I think we need to remember also that this is under an intervention situation. This is not a regular county, inter-county school, and it will be different the day that two counties go together when they are not under intervention.
Okay, well, let's get back to our agenda item. Anything else, any other questions?
We have a motion on the
We
floor.
have a motion and a second.
I had a question under accounts payable, just some United Bank cards, some usage of some United Bank cards for maintenance, and that there's numerous, it just says all schools, parts and supplies. Have we been using the United Bank card for very long? Because I don't recall seeing that.
It's your P card.
Okay.
It
So
comes
it
from
takes a
United
place,
Bank.
does it take place of like purchase orders, or do you still
You
have
have a
those on file?
purchase order with it, and then
Okay.
what you do is you buy it on that P card, and it goes to the other bank, they pay for it, and when you accumulate so much money, the county gets a percentage some back.
Okay,
So
so
that's
it's,
why we're trying to
so we
use
have
the P
everything
card.
on file as far as paperwork if it comes in, you know, because I know everything's going electronic. I just want to make sure when that's pulled that everything is attached there with it.
What I wanna do, even start looking at the fuel, try to purchase the fuel on that card, because we get a percentage back.
Okay.
Shouldn't that detail be put here?
Okay, anything else?
Oh, I have one question. Could you tell me, under,
Oh, the field trip thing, that field trip is already occurred.
yes, that field trip has occurred, you're right.
Let me explain that one to you, okay? The field trip, they have a science bowl, and they sent everything out. Our kids did not, at one time, did not wanna participate, so we let it go and stuff. The kids got together, students down here got together, went to the teacher and said they have a team and they wanna participate in it. And it had to be in before the morning meeting, so I went ahead on emergency action of the kids, because they wanted to go to it, and I approved it.
Could I amend the motion? I amend the motion to say we approve of the consent agenda with the exception of the field trip that's already occurred.
Okay, we have an amendment to the motion. Do we have a second for that?
I'd like to further amend it. I'd like to amend it. Any payment that has previously been made, any bill that has previously been paid, we cannot approve it.
I can understand a situation coming up where there's a field trip that students want to make or need to make before we have another board meeting. And in that case, the superintendent made a decision.
I know your point, Mr. Simmons, but that's one of the reasons I really honestly feel we should have 2 board meetings a month. But then again, everything's still under the consent agenda, so I guess I'm confused, you know. Do we have the right to take action on any of this? I mean, I was told, and in the minutes of the State Board of Education, that we had those items back. You know, Dr. Penix advertised it on the WVDE website, but it's all under consent agenda. So if the checks have already been written and mailed for X amount of these, we're not approving them in advance, so I don't know if there's really, I don't mean to be difficult, but I begin to feel like, what is the point of voting to approve a consent agenda that's already been pre-approved and the checks are by and large issued?
Is that on the field trips that you're talking?
Not just the field trip, in general.
Well,
Accounts payable.
you got a motion on the table, an amended
We have-
motion
And
on
I
the
did
table.
ask on the field trip, I asked him, that was accounts payable in total,
Well,
which the field
if
trip's
you're,
included in that.
if you're gonna do this and pull it out like this and not give me the authority to do emergency field trip, then I would like to have a motion from you as a board, second it, that all field trips have to come to you. So when this one comes up like that I can deny, and then these kids would not have went to the science bowl.
No one was not saying that you could
No,
not do an
I'm
emergency
asking.
decision. That was never said.
But you're pulling it out not to pass it.
It's already been passed and paid, so the check has been issued. Has it not?
I don't know,
Here's my point. Do I think that field trip was a good field trip, that
Sure.
child got to go? Absolutely. But do I think we ought to stick with the rules that we say we're supposed to follow? Yes. And if we don't approve the field trip and it's already happened, the child isn't gonna be penalized. It's just we're making a statement. If we're expected to vote on something that's already happened, I would take the stand that it's not right. If the superintendent wants to unilaterally give his or her opinion and say, yeah, that's the superintendent did it. But the board should not be expected to vote on something, to approve of something that's already occurred.
but if you're gonna do that, then the board needs to give me with a motion second, if it's emergency field trip or something like that, that I have the right to do that. Because right now, if you're saying that, I went against policy by approving this.
I think we'd already done that, haven't we?
I don't know
You
how.
just did it on student transfers just for that 1 month.
Back,
Thought
we
we'd
did
done
do
it
that.
on, travel too.
Okay, now,
Well, point
let's,
of order, I don't know where we're at.
I don't know where we are either. We had an
No,
amendment.
he's not
We had-
already pre-approved and
We
paid.
had an amendment to a motion. Dr. Armour,
You want to restate that?
Yes.
Okay, the motion was to approve the consent agenda. My amendment was, we approve it with the exception of the field trip that's already occurred. The person got to go on the field trip, that's fine, good experience, but we're simply following the rules that we laid down that the board was supposed to approve field trips in May.
And that stands true of any payment. That was my amendment to that
That's something
amendment.
different.
It's the same thing. If the check has already been issued and the bill has been paid,
Well,
we're.
it's a different issue. It's a different issue.
Thought we were talking
Let's
accounts
deal
payable.
with, the amendment first. Any further discussion on Dr. Armour's
Need a
amendment?
second.
We need a second
His amendment.
to Carl's amendment. Hearing none, the amendment then dies.
That's true.
Okay, now, on the consent agenda, we're down to a point we've discussed. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All of those in favor signify by saying yea. Yea. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
And abstentions.
Repeat it, I think I had a yay in there, I maybe didn't hear.
Okay, so
Something going on.
3 yeas, 2 noes.
3 yeas and 2 nays.
I don't know that we could take action on it tonight, but to clear up the controversy here, I think that if it's not something we can act upon tonight, something I'd like to be considered in the future to give Mr. Devano that emergency action. That way he feels he's operating within policy and we don't
Yeah.
have this issue in the
I think
future.
it's
I'd just like it to be
reasonable to do that.
considered. It's not what it has to be, just to be considered.
I'll put it on the next agenda.
And then that way, nobody feels like they're having to vote against the kids or vote against the teachers, and it's just,
Absolutely.
I think it just needs to be resolved.
All right, let's move on to item 4, superintendent's information action.
Let me go over a couple things, pass this thing out. I think Dr. Armour, you'll be kind of excited. I shortened it about 5 or 6
Oh, boy, when I
minutes.
hear that, I'm gonna be quite excited, or this is what you want, or we're here to help you.
Yeah. The local government, everybody get one.
Let's see, it comes up to here.
This is exactly what you need.
All right, that's the OEPA docket that we went through it a couple times to figure out what we still needed to do or what we are working on, and you'll see the non-compliance is like your facilities, and you'll see what's there. The new schools were being built, that's protected. Prevent maintenance that Tom brought up a little bit too, we're starting to do that, and you'll see some things that we are in the process of doing it. The MIP project will come into that too now with the air conditioning units. The physical education, we've already addressed that in the OEPA audit that we had a couple months ago with our schools. They approved it, so we're okay there. Evaluations, I checked about 3 days ago, and everybody's in compliance with all the teachers, and principals are in compliance with their evaluations so far. The only problem I had 5 teachers on my computer that did not come through. When I checked with the principals, they're on their computer, so we're okay there. The teacher leadership thing, we're doing that at the central office with the mentorship program we have. Policies are all intact now. You've got those, you approved those back in August. I'll go skip down the last administrative practices. We're okay with that. On the 7.8, the leadership, my county office or myself or anything can't do that. That's you as a board. That's yours to control and do there. But you'll see, we're doing pretty good down through here. There's some suggestions that they made, and other things we're going to go back and look at those and see what their suggestion on that. One thing too, the next thing I really wanted to really work with you, and Dr. Army, you brought this up earlier, but you only pointed out one school, and I appreciate that because I can sit here and I praise my teachers, my service personnel, my county office, my principal, all those. We have excellent employees, we have excellent teachers in here, and the report that I will give you here in about 5 minutes, you're going to see. And you pointed out Normantown, but I want you to look at, and at the Monday meeting, I gave you a web page to go on that shows you all of our statistics, everything that we have. I think you put it in on your web page that went on there that shows you all of our reports that we have. The schools that are in Gilmer County right now, you have every school in Gilmer County are success schools except for one. It's a transitional school. You do not have any priority schools, you do not have any focus schools, and you do not have any support schools. Nobody wants to be in those 3 categories, and you should be very proud of this county because that's an excellent job that they did. The high school down here, you made reference to the high school earlier. 28 high schools in the state made success. Our high school made the success there. And not only that, I was just doing a quick count in my head. I think we ended up the 10th in the state when it comes down to the scores and everything that we have there. The 8th grade down here with the ACT Explorer, 3rd in the state. I think that these positive things need to come out. I think that they need to go. You saw the press release that I've been putting out. And now we can throw the MIP project in here that we've got. Also, I'll skip down to after the press release letter. The IAL grant, that's a literacy grant that we got from the federal government. Barber County and Gilmer County applied for it. We received it. It's gonna work with preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and they're gonna provide books for us. We're asking for Kindles or something like that to put our books on it. These kids can take these Kindles home and sit down and read them, ride them on a bus and read. It's a 2-year grant. We're gonna probably get out of that local money that we will have here will be anywhere from $120,000 to $150,000 for 2 years. So that's either, we're gonna get $240,000 or $300,000 for 2 years to run this program. And we did not have to put any money up to get this money down here. It's a rural grant. We went after it. We're successful to get it. So the county is very positive. And again, I've been going out to these schools and everything, and I really need to thank the parents and the community, really behind the education process in this county. And it's just a joy to go into these schools and see these parents sitting there, proud as can be that their kids are there and everything else like this. And going to some of these schools after a ball game, I see the staff, it's a teacher not asking for any extra money, pick up a mop, pick up the trash cans. You'll never see these in some of the counties here. And I've been into a lot of counties and worked with a lot of counties, and believe me, you guys and I inherit a nice county. And I can't express what it is, and I think that we just need to keep pushing the positive things for here. And I can say it all I want, because I am proud as a peacock with that staff, but I think it means so much more when you are recognizing that you guys know what great job that they're doing too. And again, I appreciate some of the positive comments that you gave towards our staff, but they are doing an excellent job there. And I just can't say much more about it. Yes, sir.
So the way it is, we can just check off just about everything on here and say it's already been done.
Mm-hmm.
And then up here, building of the school, okay, Leading Creek, that's done.
Yeah.
So what do we have to achieve to say building of the Gilmer County Elementary School, take that off the list?
Once it starts, we'll be building it.
So we have to wait until next March or April, or?
No, they changed, Gus is not down there anymore, they changed people, so I don't know when they'll come in again and stuff. But to be honest with you and be straight up front with you, we 6 need to start gelling together. That would be a big plus for them to come back in and take us off the state takeover. That was I told you that was one of my goals. And somebody said, well, you work yourself right out of the job. Well, if I work myself right out of the job, that's great, because you all are state takeover. I did what I needed to do here. But that's the thing right now. I think that we just need to start working a little bit together and stuff like that to show that we have a unity in your board.
So again, we can check that off when some activity starts on the ground. So they start digging the foundation or something like that.
I think once it starts moving, we're fine.
But before that, won't the contracts be signed and everything? So why would you have to wait from the time the contracts are signed until work on the ground begins? Because in essence, you've crossed the Rubicon.
I mean, if you want to take it off now, we can take it off now. I think it's up to us how we want to do this.
No, I'm just asking a question about when we'll know we're there.
I think when we have that, it'll be the next audit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason at all that we shouldn't pass that audit with shining colors, particularly after the news that we just got on our academics and how well
Mhm.
those schools are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Our high school, middle school, and elementary school.
Right.
I just think that a lot of it is going to determine, when they go through the interview process, how well we answer the questions.
One thing about it, I won't lie. If I'm asked a question,
And I won't either.
I will go to the data. And if we have a question about performance, and we say we're performing well, and yet we look at the scores and 30 or 40% of the people aren't passing the test. Okay, we had to comply with the test that was given. And based on that test, we got success or whatever. Okay, that's not undeniable. But As long as we have a commitment to keep improving, and that's great. If they ask me, are you satisfied where the people in the county are, I would say no. I bet each person in the room would say no, as long as we have a plan to improve.
As long as you keep proving and moving your scores up, the state will be
I
fine.
think all you can ask for is growth. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that
growth.
everyone has high
Correct.
marks, you set your goals high. I mean, as administrator, I know Mrs. Butcher probably has to look at that, and you know, Ms. Bonnet with teaching.
Mhm.
You always set your goals higher.
Yeah.
And so
Can't
you're never
deliver.
satisfied with where you're at till you're where you wanna be.
I thought I would have one more positive report for you, but the state said they have it to me by December, now they're saying January. But it's our school audits that they did, the EPA come in, and I'll tell you, by just listening to them when they came back to give us what was going on, it's gonna be a good report.
Good.
It is, and that's based on coming from the bottom up, that's your kids, your parents, your teachers, and your administrators. It was just a school audit, and county office, nobody else had anything to do with it. And you'll be very, very pleased with that audit when they come back.
I just feel that, you know, we've got great teachers, we have good, great parents, we've got excellent students. We've got great central staff, they work with each other, help with each other, and I know we've got a great administrative staff in our schools, and as long as we have that, we're gonna keep moving forward.
You forgot, you're a great superintendent, I'm gonna help you.
And I agree. And I do think, and I will give you credit, you've opened up a lot of things to us that, we didn't realize, and I appreciate that. That was one of my, you know, complaints, that we were swimming in the dark, and that's never a good idea, you know, so.
And to address that, I didn't realize how much, and to be fair with my county office, I didn't realize how much they didn't know what was going on, and so we're there now.
I would like to say one thing, I hope, and I'm sure that you are, to the best of your ability, and the staff is dedicating some extra time and hopefully some resources to Troy in that transition status, because they're going to undergo another great change when they're moved to this school with different, not all different, but different staff, maybe a new principal, and I would love to see them leave their full-time status with Gilmer County with everything you can give them.
Now, our teachers might not be leaving Gilmer County, they'll have a choice. Because I think the biggest thing with them is when we talked to them, and it dawned on them, we were at the meeting, they might have 20 years in Gilmer County, but when they go to Lewis County, if they've been on a new school, they go to 0 years experience. So they're
But yet
going
when
in
they
as a,
accrue seniority, does it not say that their seniority accrues in both counties?
yes,
But that's from the day they hit that county?
they do. If you have 24 years in Gilmer County, you keep that seniority, you keep accruing it here in Gilmer County, but you start in Lewis County at 0.
Right, which is not right. But
We wanna keep
I was
our
really
teachers.
referring to our students, and our teachers have, they have that job. That I hope we put some extra time into those students to try to boost them and give them that confidence, and as much as we have to give them, while they still have the great teachers that we have. Because we have no guarantees once that moves, and every bit of enforcement we can give them right now will help them in that transition period.
I will probably go in right after the holidays and meet with the parents and stuff like that. But it's hard to talk because we don't know the answers, and every time we ask a question, they look at us like, well, this is the way the law reads, and every time they read us the law they're interpreting it hurts my staff. And that's, now do I wanna lose them? No, I'd rather keep them here. That's why I make it look so bad going over there.
Well, I think too, Normantown would be a good model for our elementary schools in the county to emulate what's going on at Normantown. I think that would be very helpful.
Let me say, Sand Fork has really been up there too. Sand Fork is really performing. The past 2 years, they have really come forward. And I don't think Troy would be a transition school today if it had not been such a major staffing change, multiple times principals have changed. Those children have, and you know, when you have children and you're trying to, especially at the elementary level, to maintain consistency of learning, those changes do affect them. So, you know, that's why I'm saying I hope that we will really try to give them an additional little bit of time this year that we can to make things better for them before they have to go through another change. And they surely will.
Okay, well, thank you. We're down now to item 5, delegations. I will remind the delegations, if you could, confine your remarks to 3 to 5 minutes. And first on the list is Dave Ramazan.
Okay. I just want to make a comment, and Tom kind of started on it about the, you know, good students, good teachers, good parents. But this is the unfortunate part. You know, we got the Common Core, and there's nothing wrong with the Common Core if it is done the way it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, you know, in this country, the politicians and capitalists have got involved in education. And that's where the problem is. If they just let the teachers teach and the principal check the teachers, we can be like the other countries. I just want to make that comment. Also, you know, I'd like to have the agenda, you know, when the board gets it so we can publish it. Because I've had questions, people wonder why the agenda is not published.
We'll send it to you electronically.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Kim Bonnet.
I have handout for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll wait you to read this cover to cover before I start speaking. Good evening, Dr. Simmons and board members and Mr. Devano. And I'm the president of Gilmer County Education Association. My name is Kim Bonnet, and I think all of you know me. I'm here tonight to talk to you about our competitive pay campaign. And last year, you guys all signed on our campaign, and as a result of the campaign last year, we all of the counties, 52, or not all the counties, I'm sorry, we were one of 52 that signed onto the competitive pay resolution, and with the new people that are in the Senate and everything and the government, we need to renew this commitment. And the journal that I gave you is from WVEA, and it's devoted to the competitive pay campaign. And I hope that you'll take an opportunity to read it. There are, it's just really a good read, and there are examples in there of challenges that are faced by the education profession and changes that we need to make. There are quotes and interviews from the former governor, Caperton, and things like that, so you need to look at that. And they passed language last year that gave us $1,000 across the board pay increase and a 2% increase for service personnel. And Senate Bill 391 also set a goal for teacher pay to increase, and specifically it stated that the state minimum salary, you guys can keep those magazines. The state minimum salary for a beginning teacher in 2019 should be $43,000, and that represents $11,000 from the current starting salary. And so a veteran teacher, of course, would get more than that. And while that will benefit us, it's also going to help, because I don't know how much you guys have heard about the crisis with teachers going, or students going into the teaching profession now, because the main reason is that it's not, good paying profession. And
So I have another, this is a letter to Governor Tomblin to make sure that he keeps it as a priority in our state. And this is a letter that is written to him, and it starts out, I'm not gonna read the whole thing verbatim, I would like for y'all to look at it. But it says, the West Virginia Constitution singles out public education as a top priority, and case law says education is the primary responsibility of our government. West Virginia's teachers and the service personnel we employ in our public schools are the foundation of our education system and the catalyst upon which we grow the best schools possible for our great state. And it says highly, I feel like it's too lengthy to read through the whole thing, but what I would like is to give you guys a copy and see if you are willing to sign off on it again. It does not have that each person has to sign, so I'm not sure that it needs to be a vote. I will give it to Mr. Devano, and any of you can look at it or whatever. Of course, if we have all of you, then we will say that the board signed off, but it doesn't have to be unanimous.
Kim, when do you
Do
need
a
that letter?
resolution of support.
When do you need that letter?
Well,
Can't wait till January next
it
board meeting?
can wait till the next board meeting.
Probably, if they want all sign it, probably bring it back then, and give me
Okay.
a copy, I'll put it within the agenda, so they can vote, and it'll be on
Okay.
record that they support you.
Okay, that would be great, thank you. And this, like I said, this journal, there are people in here that I personally have met, and Christine Ward, the girl that works in the pizza parlor, she's from Randolph County, and or Tucker County, I'm sorry. And she works at a pizza parlor in the evenings. There are people that have left the teaching profession altogether because of pay. And I don't know how much you guys have heard these stories, but it's the truth. And all of these are local, West Virginia stories, and it's very interesting and pertinent to what we do.
I briefly read there where she said, I'm just skimming, but she said she would never recommend for her child to go to the teaching profession.
And that's the case with many,
Because the
professions.
income would be so low.
And also, we are professionals and have to, really continue our education throughout for years to come. You know that, Dr. Simmons, being an educator, and it's a lot of work. And I think that most of us do it for the right reasons, and we love what we're doing. So I will get this letter to Mr. Devano to have you sign. Is that okay?
Now, if
Thank
we're on
you.
the agenda, then at January, they can make a motion and second it, and then they'll sign it and send it.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to item 6, and it's the holiday season. I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I would like a motion now to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys got an ego here, because I have to carry that back. And I stayed up all night making it.
Tell Becky,
Are there brownies over there?
I heard the story where that came from.